Thanks for joining us today. We have a presentation by ATEX, tickers ATX on the TSXV. So we'll have CEO Raymond Jannas joining us shortly and Ben Pullinger, SVP Exploration. And they're just going to give us an update. It's been about 3 months since we did our last webinar. So looking forward to hearing about, I think they've had 2 rounds of drill results since we last spoke to them. So getting an update there as well as on upcoming catalysts. So as always, this presentation will contain forward-looking statements. If you'd like to know more about those, you can find them on the website on the presentation. And this whole session will be Q&A, so feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. With me, I have also my colleague Magda, who's going to help with the questions. I'd like to introduce Raymond and Ben. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Raymond's on mute. Well, thanks for having us, as always, Deb, and we look forward to going through this with you.
Magda,
sorry
maybe
for being unmuted.
Okay, great. Everyone's camera's working and everyone is unmuted. So perfect. Magda, do you want to start with the questions?
Yeah, for sure. So we had just had some questions for you about phase 3 drilling that you just recently wrapped up. So maybe you could start off by telling us that how many holes are still pending and what is their potential impact?
Well, before I answer that question, Magda, I'd like to say that this was a magnificent phase 3 program. Really, we got a lot of holes in. We got 8 drill holes with more than 1,000 meters intercepts in most of them. We confirmed the high-grade central zone, and we discovered a new zone that's a western trend. So we're really excited with what our results were, and there are 2 pending holes that we couldn't complete due to weather conditions, which are 22B and 24.
Yeah, in terms of the potential impact here, 22B was out of a hole 22, which is drilled back towards the central trend to try and extend that to the north. As Raymond said, we weren't able to complete that hole, so we plan to come back in phase 4 and finish that off. But hole 24, which we released the geology, or at least the visuals on earlier on, I think last month, could be a very significant hole because it actually hits early porphyry higher up in the hole than we're anticipating. And we believe that this either shows that the central trend might have more early porphyry available to us and be wider than we thought, or could actually potentially be joining up with the western trend. So we're pretty excited about that, and looking to see what that looks like when we get those results out. And then obviously coming back and finishing that hole in phase 4, because the 2 stopped about 400 meters short when we had to shut down for weather.
Okay, thank you. And how many holes were drilled at each of the trends in the phase 3 program? Can you just remind us?
Well, of the 8 drill holes that we did 3 in the western trend, which are 11B, 23, and 22B, I believe. And 24, on the central, 24. And on the central trend, it's 11A, 21, that we didn't quite hit it, and then 22B. And then the eastern trend, we did drill hole 22A. Is that right, Ben? Yeah.
That's correct, yeah.
We did 22A, and we hit a bit of porphyry in the upper part, but we didn't hit the continuation of the eastern trend there.
Yeah, and hole 22, which was the parent hole, was actually put down between the eastern and central trends, and still came out with a 1,000-meter intersection of pretty good grade. So that was pretty special as well. I mean, as part of that, I guess hole 11A, which was the first hole that we drilled as part of the phase 3 program, pulled it out of a hole that had mineralization in it from Hochschild days, hole 11, and it was actually the geologists seeing the early porphyry fragments in the upper part of that hole that led to the discovery of the western trend when we followed up with hole 11B. So that was pretty cool as well.
Right.
And just to add on to that, 11A and 11B are daughter holes, right, out of an old drill hole that was completed in 2012 by Hochschild. So you can see that the ground was kept quite intact until now.
So was the phase 3 program the first time that ATEX tested the eastern and the western trends?
Well, yes. The answer is yes. So.
All right. And just based on the results available to date, how did the phase 3 program perform against its objectives of increasing the size of the mineralized corridors, testing new targets, and then defining continuity of the high-grade trends.
Spectacularly.
Yeah, that's your favorite.
Yeah, I mean, as Raymond said, we went from, when we took this project on, there were 3 holes defining a section across the porphyry drilled by Hochschild. Phase 2 stepped both of those out along the central trend, following up on hole 14, 200 meters to the north, and hole 19, 200 meters to the south, and 17. So we had the general geometry and shape when we started this program of the central trend. And so from there to, having extended the strike length to close to a kilometer, the width to close to a kilometer, having returned most of the drill holes coming in with close to 1,000 meters in continuous mineralization downhole, and then also discovering that second trend with the longest intersection on the property to date. I think, it performed better than we could have anticipated. And, we're very excited to get back and drill phase 4, especially because everything is open. We didn't close off mineralization, as part of this program. The system continues to get bigger and better, and we've generated new targets, especially out to the west, that we didn't have in our target list when we started the program with phase 3. So a lot of excitement, and I think more to go as we go to phase 4.
And to add on to that, we're really excited because additionally we brought in Rick on drilling. We were able to drill all our holes to objective. That had never happened before in the high Andes. All our holes went right to where we wanted. Our daughter holes did too. So we completed our program and did all holes as we were expecting to. And that's another breakthrough, tremendous breakthrough for us. And we're coming back next season with Recon, and we're happy that we will really continue with new results.
Yeah, I mean, this program actually saved us about 3,000 meters worth of drilling from surface, which is 3 months of drilling and running the camp. So huge economic and time benefit, as well as the ability to get into places that we wouldn't have been able to drill if it hadn't been for Recon and using directional drilling.
And then how do the phase 3 and 2 results compare to the historical results by previous operators?
Well, the discovery done by Hochschild had 3 interesting drill holes that were 14, 16, and 9, all cutting porphyry style mineralization in the order of 1,000 meters. But it only was along a section. So ours also, we are similar high quality drill holes. However, our drill hole 17 and our drill hole 11B are the best drill holes up to now in the camp. So basically, and I always say this and Pierre laugh, we haven't drilled the best hole, we haven't drilled the worst hole. Okay, we're going to continue to get great drill holes in the coming time.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember, we've only been drilling this for basically 1.5 years right now. And, a lot of other people around us, especially in the Vicuña Belt and to the north of us, we're looking at projects that have been around for 10 to 15 and even 20 years in some cases. So the fact that we've been able to hit on, every hole, complete every hole, and, still have the system open to us in all directions, I think is pretty spectacular. On a project that was initially drilled for, near surface gold in the 80s and 90s, Raymond actually picked this project up for Hochschild, but wasn't there when they made the porphyry discovery, but they saw the potential for something deeper. And so, I think we've built on those historical results and now exceeded them as well.
And what were the biggest surprises and takeaways from phase 3 based on the results to date?
Raymond? Oh, I think Raymond's frozen.
Well, you can take off. I'm a bit frozen.
I mean, the Western trend was, wasn't entirely surprising because we suspected something that was there. But just like the quality and the length of mineralization that we hit within that, the fact that we were able to, grow that strike length very quickly, and that it's still open for further drilling, I think is really cool. I think the fact that we now know that with that Western trend there's probably going to be development of breccias over to the west of the Western trend porphyry as well, which is very analogous to what we see at Encierro with a lot of the mineralization hosted in breccias. So we suspect that there's going to be a big shoulder breccia that will step off the top of that, and that becomes a pretty exciting target for us in phase 4 as well. And I think also just the grade that we continue to see in the central trend is really good, and we're hoping to update the market on 22B and 24 relatively shortly here. But seeing that thickening of the early porphyry package in the central trend is very exciting, because that's what we want. We want that central gravity with that high grade that ultimately, is the starter for an underground operation here.
Got it. And then touching on the units like the rock-milled breccia and the early porphyry. So these host some of the most exciting grades in the results to date. How do the grades vary between these two units, and what does this mean for future exploration?
Well, definitely the early porphyries, because there's 3 stages of porphyry. Okay, stages. Each one has multiple porphyries. We call the early stage porphyries are the highest grade ones. The intermineral ones have a medium grade, but still interesting. We're talking about the early stage porphyries having close to 1% copper equivalent, a bit more. The other one's between 0.7, 0.8% copper equivalent. And the late stage can be very poor, up to 0.3% copper equivalent. So you have, but the early porphyries intruding into a rhyolite rock, brecciated, it's surrounding. So it broke up this rock, and as fluids came up, it also mineralized that area. So the best grade being along the VP2, the early porphyries, the rock-milled breccia surrounding the early porphyries are the best grades within the rock-milled breccias. Okay.
Yeah, I think just one other point on that, the fact that these porphyries intrude the rhyolite, and which is a rock that is like high in silica, low in iron, and relatively porous as well. The grade distribution within that rock-milled breccia is beautiful, and so you've got this equigranular chalcopyrite disseminated all throughout this whole system surrounding these porphyries. So while the early porphyries have that high grade with the chalco and the bornite, and are the obvious target for starting something, the rock-milled breccia around it is a really good complement in terms of maintaining that continuity of grade and that distribution in every direction, which is what you want to see in a big system like this.
And then looking at a potential mining scenario, what do you think you'd need to see in terms of tons and grade for this to be a potentially viable operation one day?
I think we lost Raymond again. And I'll jump in here. In terms of what we're seeing from our very competent and very sharp analysts that cover the story. They've modeled us on a range of different scenarios. And we've also gone out and had a look at what operations around the world need in terms of grade and tons to get into production. And I would say, in terms of the envelope size, we're probably in the right order on global tons. And I think, if we can point to something that's 150 to 200 million tons of greater than 0.8 and constrained in one location, I think that becomes something that that potentially justifies any payback or any future mining scenario. We've got a long way to go. As I said, we've only been drilling for a year to a year and a half, but I think we're starting to show the size, and especially the central trend is showing the grade, and and seeing what 24 does to that in terms of thickening that, showing that there's potential critical mass there. So we've got a bit of work to do. We are working on an updated resource, and we've got a lot of drilling to come in the future, but I think we're starting to show that kind of size and grade potential, which is hard to quantify. But as I say, if you've got a few hundred million tons of greater than 0.8 within a sea of 1 billion tons at a decent grade, I think that gets into production today. What do you think, Raymond?
Totally agree. And we have to add on to that our neighbor at El Encierro, already has on their footprint multi-billion tons at a 0.56 copper equivalent, right? So this is going to be a major camp, and we shouldn't look at it as isolated mines. This is going to be, it has to be joined and be worked together. I don't know how, but it's definitely you're going to have to take advantage of the synergies between both camps.
Thank you. And we had some questions about the upcoming phase 4 drill program as well. So to start off, this will be directional drilling as well. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Hi. And what would the goals of this program be? Would it focus on any particular trend? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, as always, we focus first on trying to expand the high grade. The more we expand the high grade, the more probable that this will be an underground successful operation. Okay, so that's always going to be in our key element, and we're always looking to find more high grade, and definitely try to understand the size of this beast. You know, we really don't know. Our drill hole 24 that started cutting early porphyry a lot further west than the central trend that we had visualized where we would start, showing us that we still have a lot of drilling to understand this system. And at the same time, it opens to the south, like Ben was saying, that these can coalesce, the central and the western trend. Maybe you start getting something large. So we're really excited on that side. One is developing more tons, but basically high grade in special and quality tons.
And are you able to tell us how many meters you might be expecting to drill? And would this be new trends, existing discoveries, a little bit of everything?
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, we'd be, we drilled 12,000 meters as part of our last program. We'd love to be doing something in the realms of double that. Our plans would be to start up in October with 3 drill rigs. And if things are going well, grow to 5 rigs by January, and that'll give us that capacity to do north of 20,000 meters. The other thing, every drill hole we put in is infrastructure for us in the future. So I think, we have flexibility to drill quite a few more daughters, and, finishing off 22 and 22B and 24, brings forward some early results as well. But, if we can get those kind of numbers out, I think we'll have proven up a very robust kind of central core that we've now got defined, and be able to test some new targets and theories as well. So it'll be an exciting program.
All right, thank you. And just one more question for me before I hand it over to Deb. You mentioned potential for parallel trends. Would that also be something you evaluate through geophysics before drilling?
Well, the geophysics helps us understand a bit of where the general mineralization is, but it really doesn't identify trends very well. So it's really our drilling that does most of that, and our interpretation of that drilling, where we try to understand general orientation of these dike type structures of the intermineral porphyry and the early porphyry. However, you're always surprised, and when you're drilling, you're always going to find something that's going to complement or change your idea. So yes, we will definitely try to understand the eastern trend, which we don't understand yet, expand on the western trend, but most of all interested in seeing if the western and the central trend coalesce towards the south.
Got it. Thank you. And I think Deborah has some more questions.
Yes, thanks, Magda. So I have a couple additional questions. So first, can you tell us a little bit about the type of metallurgical testing that's being done?
Yeah, sure. So we're doing pretty much a PEA level study, which is really based on categorizing the deposit, the central high grade core, like the wall rock, and kind of some of the other variability within it, and seeing what kind of results we get from that in a lab study. And that's really designed towards getting a feel for what this could look like as a bulk mining target, but also what the difference between the early porphyry and the rock mold breccia and some of the other mineralized units would be in terms of recoveries, grade, and quality of concentrate that comes from those tests. So we're quite excited to see that those samples actually just arrived in BC today. So the test work will be getting up and running pretty soon here.
And what sample sizes? Oh, sorry, Raymond.
No, I was just going to ask Ben, when do we expect to have results? Fourth quarter or something like that?
Yeah, so I think we're just waiting for our slot in the lab, and once they start the work, it's 7 weeks from starting to finishing, and then a bit of reporting. So within the next 2 to 3 months, we should have a pretty good handle on those results.
And what sample sizes were sent for testing, and from where?
So we actually picked, I think, about 120 kilos from each of the domains that we selected. The first one being, the high grade, the central trend core. Second being the interaction between the wall rock and the porphyry, and then the third one being mainly wall rock. So we picked those 3 comps as that categorizes like the main set, the main kind of like mineralized progression through the deposit. And doing sample sizes of 120 kilos means we can do a lot of runs, a lot of flotation work, a lot of comminution, and then also some other kind of optimization on the back of that.
Okay. And the next payment for the Valeriano earn-in, which is $3.5 million for 49%, is due September 1st. Do you have any updates to share on the earn-in?
We will do the payment. That's for sure. We're really excited with what we have. So this payment can be done in cash or half in shares at ATEX election. And we will decide when we get there how we'll pay for it. But definitely, we're going to go to our 49%. This will take us to 49% ownership. Apart from the 10% that we already own in the Valeriano, that's the owner of the property, the company that owns the property.
And then in June, the company announced that it's working on an updated technical report. Can you give us an update on the progress of that report?
Absolutely. We're working full steam on that. And it's just a matter of getting consultants when we can get their time together, finishing things off. But we've made really good progress on that. And we intend to get that out as soon as possible, which will be hopefully within the next month or so. And I think that'll be a really strong document to support the work that we've done on the project, to detail what the impact of phase 3 has been for the project, and really also give the market something to baseline us on and show how we've been able to grow, and also what the potential through future drilling will look like.
Okay, and do you have any updates on the status of work at the adjacent Encierro project?
In general, no. Although we talk a lot on logistics and keeping things in order, and if winter's coming, how we're going to operate, basically we don't know more than they had 3 rigs drilling. And surprisingly, they have started drilling on the eastern side where we have drilled into our porphyry section with the early porphyries. They've just started drilling on that side. However, we do not have any news on their results.
And then looking at the phase 4 program and your milestone payment, what types of financing options are you considering or have you considered?
We'll definitely always looking to dilute the minimum possible to our shareholders. So we're always looking at alternatives that won't dilute them as much. And I think there'll be some news coming in shortly about how we're going to progress with respect to our financing. You want to add something to that, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, as Raymond said, like Q2 and the current market conditions have been pretty horrible. I don't think there's much in terms of equity markets out to support what we want to do right now. So we're still able to do all the things that we want to do. We're not drilling right now, so our burn is pretty low. But we want to get all of our news out, get this technical report done, and then hopefully we start to get some value on the back of that. Ultimately, we will have to raise some equity, but that's not going to be anytime soon, and definitely not part of the summer. And we've got a long way to go before we need to cross that bridge.
Yeah, and we've been using our warrant book, getting a lot of our main shareholders come in with their warrants. So we're keeping that through. That's another way that we've been establishing some money into the company.
Okay, that's actually a good segue into one of the audience questions, which was ATEX has tens of millions of warrants at 22 and 20 cents. Can you speak to the type of investors that hold these, i.e., are they held by institutions? And any assurance to new investors that may be afraid to buy with a massive overhang of in-the-money warrants?
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember, you can take this, right?
No, go ahead.
Those warrants were part of the financing that were done at the 22 cents, which was to drill phase 2. So it was a very high risk, concept. There was one drill hole into the porphyry at that point, and it was risky capital, which has obviously paid off with the discovery and everything we've done since then. I mean, you will have seen Craig and Raymond exercising their warrants over the last month or so. Writing checks to the company. We have the same shareholders that participated in that deal are a group of people that include Pierre, some of Pierre's network, and like friends and family of the company, like the chairman, like Raymond. So those are the kind of people that hold those warrants, and they're also writing checks for the company right now to support us. When we think we're getting no value, and there's no equity market out there to support us. So I think, very strong hands. I think we'll use the warrant book as a supportive way to raise capital when we need to. And I think that would be the way I'd look at it, is that there's always a backstop to bring value and capital into the company, as long as those shareholders are out there, and they love the project, we love the project. So anything else you want to add, Raymond?
No, I think that summarizes it well.
Okay, and another audience question. Pierre publicly spoke about a fund that chose to market sell due to redemptions, which he believed caused the price to plummet 55%. Do you have any insights into whether this fund is almost finished market selling? Many investors are on the sidelines, are reluctant to buy given the massive number of shares being market sold.
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer, right? We can't speak to the strategy of funds, and Q2 was pretty brutal across the board, and what we've heard is a lot of funds were facing redemptions, and we got into a position where it was forced selling because we were one of the only names that had performed well and had liquidity through Q1 into Q2, and so I think we're definitely a victim of that, and we don't know how much more is out there. We have started to turn the corner. We saw a nice rebound at our share price last Friday, and there's not much else that we can do other than continue to put out news. We're here today to talk about what we've got coming down the track, what we're doing, why we think we're incredibly oversold, and trying hopefully the markets come back and the buyers come back along with that. But we think we're on sale right now, so. Anyone that's waiting, I think this is hopefully a compelling valuation, and we can start moving and building that momentum back in a positive direction.
And just to add on, management and our principal shareholders are really supportive of this project. We really like what we see, and we're not coming out of here anytime soon. We're really excited with what's coming up.
I have another audience question. So there hasn't been any insider buys in almost a year. Can we expect to see some in the near future?
I mean, part of that is we as we're drilling and have results, we're in blackout all the time. But I think the insiders and management have significant skin in the game. That they have purchased on market. So I think that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I had one more audience question, which was, can you speak to the cost of drilling each 2-kilometer hole? My calculations are approximately $2 million. Given the number of holes needed to drill this out, will the company need a significant, well, we already addressed the financing aspect, but can you talk to cost of drilling?
Yeah, very close on what the cost of drilling are, between, $900 approximately per meter, all in with. So yes, they are quite expensive. They're close to $2 million for the 2,000 meters. Fortunately, we are able to do our drilling with Recon, where we can pick up old holes and do daughter holes out of them, and reduce the amount of first 800 meters drilling that are not of so high interest for us. So yeah, the cost is high. Fortunately, we can do daughter holes out of some other holes that will lower the cost, but there's a significant amount of drilling that's required to take this into measured and indicated resource. So yes, we will need significant financing to go through all those stages.
Yeah, I mean, we are drilling 2-kilometer holes, but we're seeing 1,300 to 1,100 to 1,300 meters of that are mineralized and significantly mineralized, right? So we are adding a significant amount of in situ value for each of those holes. But if you compare us to, everyone likes to compare us to Filo, because I think they're the biggest and the best out there. But they've raised over $350 million to drill out their project so far. We've only raised 20, so we're trying to be as efficient as possible. But yeah, there's a lot of drilling that goes into this to turn it into where we are today, into more advanced resource. And every time we drill a hole so far, we're adding a lot of value, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and like Ben said before, the ground conditions are so good that we can go back into any hole and 2 daughter holes for infill drilling in all the ones that we made. So it's another advantage that we have in our project.
Okay. And then the last question from me is, you've got a number of catalysts coming. Would you mind listing those catalysts in approximate timelines so that investors know what to look for?
Raymond?
First of all, we will be bringing out our drill hole 24 and 22B, like Ben said, very shortly. We will be coming out with a new resource, which we hope will be quite significant and have the community will have a nice look at what size we are right now without having drilled significant amount. Our metallurgy is coming up shortly after that. And definitely we will start drilling in probably early October, and we will extend 22B and to extend 24. Additionally, we've ribbed out an old hole of number 12 of Hawkshell that we'll pick up and bring out towards the west another information. So yes, we will start kind of having some good results, hopefully good results, since almost the beginning of our next drill program. You want to add to that, Ben?
No, nailed it.
Okay, great. Oh, one more audience question. Has any thought gone into partnering with other players to drill this monster out, i.e. Velo? Obviously, you can't answer that question directly, but are you looking at strategics?
Yeah, I mean,
we're always go ahead.
No, you go.
We're always happy to have a big strategic partner. We'd welcome one, and we're open for anyone to come in and discuss a potential position into us. However, it'll be a position into the company and not any type of JV over the project.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think over time as we grow, as Raymond said earlier, this area is ripe for consolidation. It's a huge camp that's evolving here with 2 significant porphyry discoveries already and potentially more down the track. I think this is something that as a junior we can take it so far, but at some point it would be great to have a bigger company come in and help us out with their skill set and bring value to the project. So we're open to that conversation, and at the right time in the right place, we'll see what happens.
Sounds good. Well, that's it from me. I don't see any other audience questions. So I think that's a good spot to leave it off. It sounds like there's a ton of catalysts coming, a lot of reasons to look at ATEX again. So thank you so much for your time and for providing a market update. Thanks everyone for participating and for your questions. If you have any follow-up questions or you'd like a one-on-one meeting, feel free to reach out. Yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good afternoon.
And thanks to Adelaide for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks, Deb, and thanks, Magda. Good to see you, Ben.
Right.